A single conversation is about to lift a weight you have been carrying far longer than anyone around you realizes, Taurus. And what comes after it will surprise you with how simple the next step actually is. Right now, as you are hearing this, there is something stirring inside you that has been building quietly beneath the surface. It is not anxiety exactly, though it might feel like that sometimes. It is not sadness, though there are moments when it shows up wearing that disguise. What it really is readiness. You have reached a point where something inside you simply cannot keep holding what it has been holding. There is a conversation that needs to happen, and you already know who it involves. You may not have admitted it out loud yet. You may not have even fully admitted it to yourself, but the feeling is there, sitting in the center of your chest like a stone you swallowed months ago and never quite digested. And here is the thing about you, Taurus. You are incredibly good at enduring. You are built for patience. You can carry weight that would crush most other signs and still show up the next day with a steady smile and a calm voice. But just because you can carry it does not mean you should keep carrying it. Not when there is a way to set it down. Not when the universe is opening a door right now that leads to relief you have almost forgotten is possible. The energy moving through your life at this moment is pointing directly at a specific exchange. A real and honest conversation that has the power to dissolve tension that has been quietly poisoning your peace for weeks, maybe even months. And the beauty of what is coming is not that it will be dramatic or explosive. It is that it will be surprisingly gentle, surprisingly clear, surprisingly easy, but only if you understand how to move through it the right way. Stay with me through every single section of this message, because what I am about to share with you is going to show you exactly how this unfolds, what you need to say, what you need to hear, and what becomes possible on the other side. Tip 1. The heaviness you have been carrying is not just emotional. It is a signal that your entire system is asking for a specific kind of release. You have probably noticed that this weight you are feeling is not contained to one area of your life. It is not just about this one relationship or this one situation. It has been leaking into everything. Your sleep has been different lately. Maybe you are waking up in the middle of the night with your mind already racing before your eyes are fully open. Maybe you are sleeping longer than usual but waking up feeling like you never rested at all. Your appetite may have shifted. Your motivation may have dimmed. Things that used to bring you joy now feel flat, like watching a movie with the volume turned all the way down. And you have probably been wondering if something is wrong with you, if you are getting older and losing your edge, if the world has just become heavier and there is nothing you can do about it. But I need you to understand something very clearly right now, Taurus. Nothing is wrong with you. What is happening is that your body is reflecting what your heart already knows, but your mind has been refusing to acknowledge. There is something unresolved between you and another person, and that lack of resolution is draining your energy in ways you have not fully connected to the source. Your body is an incredibly honest instrument. It does not lie the way your thoughts do. When something is out of alignment in your emotional world, your body speaks up in the only language it knows. Symptoms: fatigue, tension in your shoulders and neck, a tightness in your jaw that you do not notice until someone points it out, or until you catch yourself clenching in the mirror. A general sense of heaviness that sits on you like a second skin you cannot take off. These are not random. These are not signs of aging or illness or burnout, though they can certainly mimic all of those things. These are your body's way of telling you that there is an emotional truth that has been locked inside for too long. And the only way to release the pressure is to speak that truth out loud to the person who needs to hear it. Think about the last time you had a really honest conversation with someone, the kind where you said something you had been holding in and felt the relief wash over you like warm water. Remember how your shoulders dropped. Remember how you took that deep breath that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than your lungs. Remember how the world looks slightly different afterwards, slightly brighter, slightly more manageable. That is what is waiting for you on the other side of this conversation. Not because the conversation itself is magic, but because honesty is the pressure valve your system desperately needs right now. And the longer you wait, the more symptoms you will collect. The more nights of broken sleep. The more days of low energy. The more moments of staring at your screen without really seeing what is on it. Lost in a fog of unspoken feelings that has no way to clear until you open your mouth and let the truth out. Taurus, you are one of the most grounded signs in the entire zodiac. You understand the physical world in a way that others simply do not. So trust your body right now. It is telling you something important. It is telling you that the time for silence is ending, And the time for honest conversation is beginning. Not because someone else is demanding it, not because you have run out of options, but because your own system is done carrying what it has been carrying, and it is asking you, with every ache and every restless night, to finally set it down. Tip 2. The other person is not your enemy, and the moment you stop treating them like a threat is the moment everything begins to shift. There is something that happens when tension builds between two people over time, and it is so gradual that you almost never notice it happening. The person you care about, the person who once felt like safety and comfort and home, slowly begins to feel like something else entirely. They start to feel like a problem, like an obstacle, like someone you need to manage rather than someone you want to connect with. Their habits that used to be endearing now irritate you. Their silence that used to feel comfortable now feels loaded. Their presence that once made a room feel warmer now makes it feel heavier. And somewhere in the middle of all that shifting, without either of you realizing it, you stopped seeing them as a person and started seeing them as a position, an opposing position, someone on the other side of an invisible line that you did not even know you were drawing. This is not a conscious choice, Taurus. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to turn someone they love into an adversary. It happens quietly, one swallowed frustration at a time, one unspoken disappointment at a time, one moment of choosing silence over honesty at a time. And before you know it, the person standing across from you is no longer someone you are trying to connect with. They are someone you are bracing against. And that shift in perception changes everything about how you interact with them. When you see someone as a threat, your whole system changes. Your body tenses. Your voice tightens. Your words become careful and calculated rather than open and genuine. You start speaking in code, saying things you do not mean while meaning things you do not say. Every interaction becomes a chess match where you are trying to protect yourself while simultaneously trying to figure out what they are really thinking. That is exhausting, Taurus, and it is not who you are. At your core, you are someone who craves genuine connection. You want relationships that feel like solid ground beneath your feet. You want to know where you stand with the people you care about, and you want them to know where they stand with you. The current dynamic, where everything is layered with unspoken meaning and guarded emotions, is the opposite of everything your sign needs to feel secure. So before this conversation happens, I need you to consciously and deliberately make a decision. Decide that this person is not your enemy. Decide that whatever has happened between you, whatever words were said or left unsaid, whatever wounds were inflicted intentionally or by accident, this person is still someone you care about. That does not mean you excuse bad behavior. It does not mean you pretend everything is fine when it clearly is not. It means you approach the conversation from a place of shared humanity rather than opposing positions. You are both hurting. You are both confused. You are both doing the best you can with the tools you have. And the conversation is not about determining who failed more spectacularly. It is about two people who got lost finding their way back to each other. When you walk into that conversation seeing the other person as a fellow human being who is struggling, rather than as an opponent you need to defeat or defend against, the entire energy of the exchange transforms. Your walls come down. Your voice softens. Your eyes change. And the other person feels that shift before you even say a word. Because people do not respond to what you say nearly as much as they respond to who you are being when you say it. Be someone who came to heal, not to win. Be someone who came to understand, not to prove. That single decision will do more to determine the outcome of this conversation than any words you could possibly prepare. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Tip 3. The right words will come to you in the moment, but only if you stop rehearsing and start trusting your own heart. I know you, Taurus. I know that right now, as you are listening to this, a part of your mind is already trying to script the conversation. You are running through possible openings, testing different phrases, imagining how the other person might respond to each one, and then preparing counter-responses for every possible scenario. You are building a mental blueprint for this exchange, trying to account for every variable so that nothing catches you off guard. And I understand why you do this, because your sign finds security in preparation. You feel safer when you have a plan. You feel more confident when you know what is coming next. The unknown makes you uncomfortable, And a conversation like this is full of unknowns, so your natural instinct is to eliminate as many of those unknowns as possible before you even open your mouth. But here is what I need you to hear, and I need you to really sit with this one. Over-preparation is one of the biggest obstacles to genuine communication. When you rehearse a conversation too much, you stop being present in it. Instead of actually being there with the other person, listening to their words, responding to their energy, allowing the exchange to flow naturally, you are running a pre-programmed script in your head and trying to keep reality on track with what you already decided should happen. And reality does not work that way. People do not say what you expect them to say. They do not react the way you predicted. They take the conversation in directions you never imagined. And when that happens, if you are locked into your rehearsed version, you freeze. You lose your footing. You scramble to get back to the script. And in doing so, you miss the most important moments of the actual conversation happening right in front of you. The most powerful words you will ever speak in a meaningful conversation are the ones you did not plan. They are the ones that rise up from somewhere deeper than your brain, from somewhere in your chest or your gut, or that quiet space behind your eyes where your truest self lives. Those words are not polished. They are not elegant. They might not even make perfect grammatical sense, but they carry a weight and a sincerity that no rehearsed speech could ever match, because they are born in the moment, shaped by the reality of what is actually happening between you and this other person. So I am asking you to do something that goes against every instinct your sign has. Let go of the script. Walk into this conversation with nothing but your honest intention and trust that the right words will find you when you need them. This does not mean you should not think about what you want to communicate. Having a general sense of the core truth you want to express is important, and we will talk about that more in a moment. But there is a vast difference between knowing your core truth and scripting an entire conversation from start to finish. One is a compass, the other is a cage. Your core truth will guide you. A script will trap you, and the moment you get trapped in a script, the other person will sense it. They will feel the artificiality of it. They will sense that they are not talking to the real you but to a performance of you, and they will respond to that performance with a performance of their own. And then you are both just acting at each other, and nothing real gets said, and nothing real gets resolved, and you walk away wondering why the conversation felt so hollow despite all the preparation you put into it. Trust your heart, Taurus. It has been carrying this truth for a long time. It knows exactly what needs to be said. Your job is not to dictate the words. Your job is to create the conditions where those words can emerge naturally, honestly, and without interference from the part of you that is terrified of getting it wrong. You will not get it wrong. Not if you show up with sincerity. Not if you lead with love. The words will come. Let them. Tip 4. Begin with the feeling, not the facts. Because feelings are the language that opens hearts while facts are the language that closes them. When you finally sit down with this person, when the moment arrives and the space between you is quiet enough for real words to travel across it, you are going to be tempted to start with the facts. You are going to want to lay out the timeline. You are going to want to reference specific events, specific things that were said or done, specific moments where you felt the ground shift beneath your feet. And from a logical standpoint, that makes perfect sense. Facts are concrete. Facts are verifiable. Facts feel safe because they cannot be argued away as easily as feelings can. But this is not a courtroom, Taurus. And the person sitting across from you is not a jury. They are someone whose heart is just as tender and just as guarded as yours. And if you lead with facts, their first instinct will be to dispute those facts. They will challenge your timeline. They will offer a different interpretation of the events you reference. They will say things like, "That is not what happened," or "You are remembering it wrong," or "I never said that." And within minutes, what was supposed to be a heartfelt conversation about your feelings has turned into a debate about who remembers what correctly. Nobody wins that debate. Nobody has ever walked away from an argument about facts feeling closer to the other person. But feelings are different. When you say, "I have been feeling distant from you and it scares me," there is nothing to dispute. Those are your feelings. They are true simply because you feel them. The other person cannot tell you that you do not feel what you feel. They might be surprised by it. They might not have realized the extent of it. But they cannot argue with it. And that removes the adversarial dynamic from the conversation before it even has a chance to form. When you lead with feelings, you are also doing something far more important than just avoiding an argument. You are modeling vulnerability. You are showing the other person that this space, this conversation, is safe enough for real emotions to exist in. And when people feel safe, they open up. When people feel safe, they stop defending and start sharing. When people feel safe, the conversation takes on a completely different quality, one of mutual exploration rather than mutual accusation. So instead of saying, "You have been ignoring me for the past 3 weeks," try something more like, "I have been feeling invisible lately and I do not know how to get back to the connection we used to have." Instead of saying, "You always shut me out when things get hard," try, "I feel alone when we stop talking about what matters and I miss feeling like we are on the same side." Do you hear the difference? The content is essentially the same. The underlying truth is the same, but the delivery is transformed. One version points a finger, the other version opens a hand. And which one do you think the other person is more likely to reach for? Your feelings are not weapons, Taurus. They are bridges. And right now, you need a bridge far more than you need a weapon. The gap between you and this person has been widening, and facts will not close it. Only honesty about what you are actually feeling inside has the power to build something strong enough for both of you to cross. So let yourself be soft. Let yourself be tender. Let yourself say the thing that makes your voice shake just a little, because that tremor is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that what you are saying is real. And real is the only currency that has any value in a conversation like this. Everything else is counterfeit, and both of you are too smart to keep trading in counterfeit when the genuine article is sitting right there in your chest, waiting to be shared. Tip 5. Give the other person space to respond without rushing to fill the silence, because silence is where courage gathers. Once you have spoken your truth, once those honest words have left your mouth and are hanging in the air between you and this other person, something is going to happen that will test every ounce of patience your sign possesses. There will be silence. Not the comfortable silence of two people who understand each other so well that words are unnecessary. This will be the charged, loaded, almost unbearable silence that follows a moment of raw honesty. And in that silence, your instinct is going to scream at you to fill it, to explain what you just said, to clarify, to soften it, to take it back, to apologize for being so direct, to laugh nervously and change the subject, to do anything, absolutely anything, other than sit in that silence and let it do its work. But I need you to resist every single one of those impulses, Taurus, because that silence is not empty. That silence is full. It is full of the other person processing what you just said. It is full of their heart opening, slowly, carefully, like a flower that needs time to respond to the light. It is full of their courage gathering in their chest as they prepare to respond with their own truth. And if you rush in and fill that silence, you rob them of the time they need to get there. You know how you needed all this time, all these weeks and months to get to the point where you were ready to speak? The other person needs time too. Maybe not weeks and months. Maybe just 30 seconds. Maybe just a minute. But those 30 seconds or that minute can feel like an eternity when you are sitting across from someone and the air between you is thick with everything that was just said. Your instinct to fill the silence comes from a good place, Taurus. It comes from your desire to maintain stability, to keep things comfortable, to smooth over anything that feels jagged or raw. You are a sign that values harmony, and silence after honesty does not feel harmonious. Feels dangerous. Feels like standing on the edge of something you cannot see the bottom of. But what I want you to understand is that the silence is where the transformation happens. It is where the other person moves from hearing your words to feeling them. It is where the meaning sinks beneath the surface of their conscious mind and touches something deeper, something that words alone could never reach. And when they finally do respond, when they break that silence with their own voice, what comes out will be far more genuine, far more real, far more meaningful than anything they would have said if you had rushed them. Because silence strips away the surface responses. It peels back the automatic, knee-jerk reactions that people default to when they are not given time to process. Without that silence, the other person might have said something dismissive, not because they did not care, but because they had not been given enough time to access the part of themselves that does. The quick response is almost never the true response. The true response needs time and space and the quiet confidence that the person who just spoke is willing to wait for an honest answer rather than a fast one. So when the silence comes, and it will come, let it be. Breathe through it. Keep your eyes soft. Keep your body open. Let your posture communicate that you are not going anywhere, that you are in no rush, that this moment is important enough to sit inside of for as long as it takes. That patience, Taurus, is one of the greatest gifts your sign can offer another human being. The gift of unhurried presence, the gift of space, the gift of saying with your silence and your steadiness, take all the time you need. I will be right here when you are ready. Tip 6. What the other person shares may not match the story you have been telling yourself, and that is a good thing. You have been living inside a narrative, Taurus. We all do it, but your sign does it with a particular kind of thoroughness that makes the narrative feel especially solid and real. Over the weeks and months that this tension has been building, you have constructed a story about what happened, why it happened, who is responsible, and what it all means. That story feels like truth to you, feels like fact, feels as solid as the ground you walk on. But here is something you need to prepare yourself for. That story is incomplete. Not wrong necessarily, but incomplete, because you built it with only half the information. You built it from your side of the experience, filtered through your emotions, shaped by your past, colored by your fears and assumptions, and the lens through which you see the world. And the other person has been living inside their own narrative, one that was built from their side of the same experience, filtered through their emotions, shaped by their past, colored by their completely different set of fears and assumptions. When this conversation happens, when you hear the other person's version of what has been going on, there are going to be moments where their story does not match yours at all. They are going to describe events that you experience very differently. They are going to explain motivations that you never considered. They are going to share pain that you did not know you caused. And they are going to reveal fears that you never imagined they were carrying. And in those moments, your instinct is going to be to correct them, to say, no, that is not what happened, to defend your version of events because letting go of it feels like letting go of your grip on reality itself. But I need you to fight that instinct, Taurus, because what the other person is sharing is not an attack on your truth. It is an expansion of it. Both stories can be true at the same time. Both experiences can be valid. Your pain is real and their pain is real. Your perspective is legitimate and their perspective is legitimate. The full picture of what happened between you includes both narratives, and you will never see that full picture if you refuse to let their version exist alongside your own. This is one of the hardest things a person can do, especially a Taurus, because your sign finds deep security in certainty. You like to know what is real. You like to know what is true. And having two seemingly contradictory versions of the same events both be true at the same time, that creates a kind of uncertainty that makes your whole system uncomfortable. But sit in that discomfort, Taurus. Let it stretch you. Let it teach you something new about this person and about yourself. Because what you are going to discover on the other side of that discomfort is compassion. Not the abstract, theoretical kind, the real kind. The kind that comes from genuinely understanding another person's experience, even when it challenges your own. When you can hold both stories at once, when you can say, this is what I experienced and I hear that your experience was different and I believe you. Something extraordinary happens. The wall between you dissolves, not because you agreed with each other, but because you honored each other. And in a relationship that has been weighed down by unspoken tension, that kind of mutual honoring is more powerful than 1,000 apologies. Says, your experience matters to me, even when it is different from mine. Says, I care more about understanding you than about being right. And for you, Taurus, that shift from needing to be right to wanting to understand. That is where the real relief begins. Tip 7. The clear next step will reveal itself during the conversation, not before it, so stop trying to figure it out in advance. One of the things that has been keeping you stuck, Taurus, is your need to know what comes next before you take the first step. You have been waiting to have this conversation because you do not yet know what the outcome will be. You want to know where things will stand afterward. You want to know what will change, what will stay the same, whether things will get better or worse. You want a guarantee, or at least a reasonable prediction, before you are willing to put yourself out there. And because no such guarantee exists, you have been standing still, trapped in a cycle of wanting to move forward but not knowing which direction forward actually is. This is deeply characteristic of your sign, Taurus. You are not reckless. You do not leap before you look. You plan. You prepare. You assess the terrain before you commit to crossing it. And in most areas of life, that careful approach serves you incredibly well. It is why you build things that last. It is why the people in your life trust you. It is why, when you finally commit to something, Everyone around you knows it is real because you do not commit to anything you have not thought through thoroughly. But right now, that same quality is working against you. Because this is not a situation where you can think your way to the answer. The answer does not exist yet. It is going to be created in real time, in the space between you and this other person during the conversation itself. The next step is not something you can discover in advance through analysis or meditation, or reading every message about your sign that you can find. The next step is going to emerge organically from the exchange of honesty between two people who finally stopped pretending and started telling the truth. This is hard for you to accept, I know. Feels irresponsible. Feels reckless. It feels like jumping out of a plane and trusting that the parachute will appear on the way down. But that is exactly what the universe is asking you to do right now. Not because it wants you to be reckless, but because some clarity can only be born from experience, not from planning. Some answers only reveal themselves when you stop demanding them in advance and start living your way into them. Think about the most meaningful moments of growth in your life, Taurus. The ones that really changed who you are. Were they planned? Did you know ahead of time exactly what was going to happen and how it was going to feel? Or did they emerge from moments of genuine uncertainty? Moments where you had to trust yourself and trust the process and take a step without knowing where your foot was going to land? I already know the answer because growth never happens on schedule. It happens in the gaps between your plans, in the spaces where control breaks down and something real rushes in to fill the void. This conversation is one of those spaces. And the next step, the one you have been so desperately trying to figure out before you even begin, it is waiting for you inside it. Not before it, inside it. When you sit down with this person and you speak honestly and you listen honestly, and you let the conversation unfold without trying to steer it toward a predetermined destination, something remarkable is going to happen. A moment of clarity is going to arrive. It might come from something they say. It might come from something you hear yourself say that you did not know you were going to say. It might come from a look they give you, or a silence that lands differently than you expected, or a question that reframes everything you thought you knew about this situation. But it will come, and when it does, you will know exactly what to do next. Not because you planned it, because you earned it. You earned it by being brave enough to step into the unknown, and let the conversation show you what no amount of thinking could have revealed on its own. Tip 8. Vulnerability is not a risk for you right now. It is the safest thing you could possibly do. There is a voice in your head, Taurus, that has been telling you that opening up is dangerous, that showing someone what you really feel is handing them ammunition, that vulnerability is a gamble where the stakes are your dignity, and the odds are never in your favor. That voice has been speaking so loudly and so consistently that you have probably started to confuse it with wisdom. You have probably started to believe that self-protection and strength are the same thing, that the person who reveals the least is the person who wins, that keeping your cards close to your chest is not just a strategy but a virtue. But I need to tell you something that might rearrange everything you thought you knew about this situation. That voice is lying to you. It is not lying because it is malicious. It is lying because it is afraid. It is the voice of every time you opened up and got hurt. Every time you trusted someone with your truth and they used it against you. Every time you let your guard down and the world punished you for it. That voice is trying to protect you and its intentions are good, but its strategy is outdated. It is using old data to make current decisions, and the result is that it is keeping you trapped in a prison of emotional isolation that feels like safety, but is actually the most dangerous place you could be. Because here is the truth that the protective voice does not want you to hear. The real risk right now is not vulnerability. The real risk is continued silence. The real risk is staying closed, staying guarded, staying locked behind walls that were built to protect you, but are now suffocating you. Every day that you choose self-protection over honest connection, the distance between you and this other person grows. And distance, when it grows long enough, becomes permanent. That is the real danger, Taurus. Not that you will open up and get hurt, but that you will stay closed and lose something that matters to you because you were too afraid to fight for it with the only weapon that actually works. Your genuine, unfiltered, terrifyingly honest self. The energy surrounding you right now is specifically designed to support vulnerability. This is not a random moment. This is not a coincidence. The stars are creating a container of safety around you, a field of energy that catches you if you fall, that holds you if you tremble, that ensures that the honesty you offer will be received with far more grace than your fear is predicting. This is one of those rare windows where the universe is essentially saying, it is safe to be real right now. And those windows do not stay open indefinitely. When you choose vulnerability in this moment, you are not taking a risk. You are taking a step toward the most profound kind of safety that exists, the safety of being fully known by someone who chooses to stay. That is different from the false safety of being partially known by someone who is staying because they do not have enough information to make a real choice. True connection requires true knowing. And true knowing requires the kind of vulnerability that makes your stomach flip, and your palms sweat, and your voice catch in your throat. That discomfort is not a warning sign. It is a sign that you are doing something real. Lean into it, Taurus. The person you are about to talk to is not your enemy. They are your opportunity. Your opportunity to be seen, to be heard, to be known in a way that silence has been making impossible. And when you let yourself be truly seen, when you drop the armor and stand in front of another person with nothing between them and your heart, that is not weakness. That is the strongest thing a human being can do. And you are strong enough to do it. You have always been strong enough. You were just using your strength in the wrong direction. Some people watch, others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting, it's about moving. Tip 9. The relief you feel after this conversation is not the end of the journey. It is permission to finally begin. Something beautiful is going to happen when this conversation is over, Taurus. You are going to feel lighter, physically, tangibly lighter, as if someone lifted a heavy coat off your shoulders that you had forgotten you were wearing. The air will taste different. The colors around you will seem slightly more vivid. Your body will feel like it belongs to you again, rather than like a container for tension and unexpressed emotion. And in that moment of relief, you might be tempted to think that the work is done, that the conversation was the hard part, and now everything will naturally fall into place without any further effort on your part. But I need to prepare you for something important. The relief is real, and you should absolutely savor it. But the relief is not the destination. It is the starting line. What the conversation does is clear the fog. It removes the layer of unspoken tension that has been sitting between you and your own clarity, like a dirty window you have been trying to see through for months. Once that window is cleaned, once the air between you and this other person has been cleared by honesty, you are going to see things you could not see before. You are going to see the situation with new eyes. You are going to see yourself with new eyes. And what you see is going to point you toward a very specific next step that was invisible to you as long as the fog was in the way. That next step might be a change in how you communicate with this person going forward. It might be a boundary you need to set that you have been too afraid to set. It might be a commitment you need to make to yourself or to someone else that requires a level of honesty you were not capable of before this conversation happened. It might be as simple as a daily practice of checking in with this person, really checking in, not the surface level exchanges that have been passing for communication, but the kind of genuine how are you really inquiry that keeps relationships alive and growing. Whatever the next step is, it will be clear. Not vague, not abstract, clear. And the clarity itself will feel like relief, because one of the most exhausting things about the situation you have been in is not knowing what to do. The not knowing has been draining you as much as the tension itself. Your mind has been running in circles, analyzing, weighing options, playing out scenarios, and never arriving at an answer because the answer was locked behind a conversation that had not happened yet. Once the conversation happens, the circling stops. Your mind quiets. And in that quiet, the path forward becomes obvious. This is the gift the universe is offering you right now, Taurus. Not just relief from the weight you have been carrying, but direction. A clear, simple, actionable next step that takes all of the energy you have been spending on worry and anxiety and redirects it towards something constructive. Something that builds rather than burns. Something that moves you forward rather than keeping you stuck. So when the relief comes, and it will come, let yourself feel it fully. Let it wash through you. Let yourself take that deep breath you have been needing. But then open your eyes and look at what the cleared air has revealed. Because the next chapter of your life is waiting to be written. And this conversation is handing you the pen. Tip 10. You do not need to become someone new to handle this. You just need to stop hiding the person you already are. There is a version of you that exists beneath all the layers of caution and self-protection you have built up over the years, Taurus. A version that is deeply tender, profoundly loyal, achingly sincere, and brave in a way that has nothing to do with loudness or force. This version of you does not need to be created. It does not need to be developed. It does not need workshops or self-help books or another decade of life experience. It already exists. It has always existed. It is the version of you that surfaces in those rare, unguarded moments when you forget to be careful, when you laugh so hard that your whole body participates, when you hold someone's hand and feel a current of connection that makes the whole world disappear, when you look at someone you love and feel a wave of tenderness so powerful it actually scares you because you know that loving someone that much means you have something to lose. That version of you is not a stranger. It is you, the real you, the you that lives beneath the armor and the strategy and the carefully maintained composure. And it is that version of you that this conversation needs. Not a better version, not a stronger version, not a more evolved or more articulate or more emotionally intelligent version. Just the real one. The one that has been hiding because the world taught you that being real is dangerous, that being soft is the same as being weak, that letting people see what you actually feel is an invitation for them to use it against you. But those lessons were wrong, Taurus. They were survival strategies for a version of your life that no longer applies. The situations that taught you to hide were real. The pain that taught you to build walls was real. But the conclusion you drew from that pain, that hiding is always the safer option, that walls are always better than windows, that conclusion needs to be revisited. Because right now, in this specific moment with this specific person, the safest thing you can do is also the bravest thing you can do. It is to show up as yourself, not the curated self, not the public self, not the self you present to the world because it is polished and put together and unlikely to be rejected. The actual self, the one that is scared and hopeful and exhausted and ready for things to change. The one that does not have all the answers but is willing to sit in the questions. The one that would rather be honest and imperfect than perfect and alone. That self, Taurus, is more than enough. It has always been more than enough. The people who truly belong in your life, the ones who are worthy of your trust and your time and your love, they do not want the performance. They want you. The real, unedited, sometimes messy, sometimes uncertain, always genuine you. And the conversation that is waiting for you right now is your chance to let that person out. Not forever, not with everyone, just with this one person, in this one moment, for this one conversation that has the power to change everything. You do not need to rehearse. You do not need to prepare. You do not need to be anything other than what you already are. Take off the armor, set down the shield, and let someone see the person you have been protecting all this time. They are going to be relieved to finally meet them. Because the truth is, Taurus, the distance that has been growing between you and this person was never about what was said or not said. It was about who was showing up. And the person who has been showing up, the careful, guarded, strategically vulnerable version, is not the person they fell in love with or built a friendship with or chose to keep in their life. The person they chose is the one underneath all of that. And it is time to bring that person back. Something has been shifting in you throughout this entire message, Taurus, and I hope you can feel it. That heaviness in your chest, the one you woke up with this morning and probably every morning for the past several weeks. It is already loosening. Not because the conversation has happened yet, but because the decision has been made. Somewhere inside you, in a place deeper than thoughts and more honest than words, you have already decided that you are done carrying this alone. You have already decided that silence is no longer an acceptable substitute for peace. You have already decided that the discomfort of honesty is better than the slow decay of avoidance. And that decision all by itself has already started to change the energy around you. The people in your life may not be able to put their finger on what is different, but they can feel it. There is something in your eyes that was not there yesterday. Something that looks a lot like resolve. Something that looks a lot like readiness. Something that looks, if they look closely enough, a lot like hope. And that hope is not naive, Taurus. It is not the blind optimism of someone who has not been hurt. It is the earned hope of someone who has been through the fire and come out the other side still believing that honest connection is worth the risk. That kind of hope is rare. That kind of hope is powerful. That kind of hope is exactly what the universe has been waiting to see from you before it could open the doors that are now beginning to swing wide. The conversation ahead of you is not something to fear. It is something to walk toward with the same steady determination that defines everything your sign does when it truly commits. You are not walking toward conflict. You are walking toward clarity. You are not walking toward pain. You are walking toward the release of pain that has been stored in your body for far too long. And the clear next step that has been eluding you, the one you have been searching for in the quiet hours of the night when sleep will not come, the one you have been trying to think your way toward but could never quite reach. It is going to be there, waiting for you on the other side of one honest exchange. That is the beauty of what is happening right now. The solution was never complicated. It was never hidden in some grand cosmic mystery. It was always this simple. Two people, one honest conversation, and the courage to let the truth change both of you. You have that courage, Taurus. You have had it all along. The only thing that has been missing is the moment. And the moment is here. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when conditions are perfect, because perfect conditions are a myth invented by fear to keep brave people standing still. The moment is now. The person is ready. The energy is aligned. And you are more ready than you have ever been, even if your knees are shaking and your heart is pounding and every protective instinct you have is screaming at you to wait just a little longer. Do not wait, Taurus. Do not wait. Walk forward. Open your mouth. Speak your truth. And watch what happens when two people who have been hiding from each other finally choose to be seen. The relief will be unlike anything you have felt in a long time. And the clear next step will be so obvious, so simple, so perfectly suited to where you are right now, that you will wonder why you waited so long to find it. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift. Or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.